Buying drum cases was probably one of the highlights of my life. And that's not hyperbole at all. It literally was one of the proudest moments of my life. A fairly ordinary, boring event for most people, just buying a routine piece of gear. But it was an incredibly powerful moment for me, and I'll explain that in a moment and kind of explain it through the lens of another musician. And this is a musician who's followed me on YouTube, and he came to one of my gigs last week, and we chatted for a second, and then he messaged me a little bit later in the week, talking about how, he's starting a new chapter in life, and he's kind of in his, middle-aged, and he wants to start a new leaf, turn over a new leaf with music. And just basically starting at this baseline. I'm in a new town, new scene, what can I do to get started? And he messaged me with his what I could tell was some sincere excitement about, like, hey man, I just made like $20 today playing music. I was busking on a street corner. And the way he said it really reminded me of buying my drum cases, and it also made me incredibly proud of him and incredibly excited, because that energy of starting over again, starting a new chapter in life, where most people saying, if you're not a professional musician or a big star by the time you're 20 or 30, it's not even worth it. But yeah, this guy was telling me about, he's like, I could tell that he was really just invigorated by just playing music and starting this whole new, brave new world. And it reminded me of when I bought my drum cases. This was certainly not my first set of drum cases, but I had moved to Nashville about a year or so prior to that, with no intentions of playing music at all. I moved for another career, and for those of you who don't follow, I had some injuries that kind of derailed my musical career, and I sold all of my gear, and I just moved on in life. I thought that chapter was done, and I came to Nashville, and being in front of music, I got the itch for it again. But you know what? I had no gear. So I actually started with a crazy, crazy bare bone setup. And actually you can see that, just click on that little card right there. That will show you what I started with. But I got to a point where I grinded every gig. I took every gig, no matter how high pay, how low pay, how far away it was, who it was with. I just said yes to everything. I really had to grind my way through that first year. And I didn't even plan on playing music full time. I was just trying to play. And I embarrassed myself, fell flat on my face a few times, but I just stuck with it. And I was persistent. And I got to a point where, I'm going on the road. I actually need to have professional equipment. I need to have a set of cases that can get on the tour bus, so I can just throw this stuff under. And I could literally justify paying for those cases because I had worked enough and made enough playing music that I could buy those cases, and that I needed them for work. And it reminded me very much of what I'm talking about with this other gentleman, is that having the courage to start over again. Not necessarily climb to the top of the mountain, but just, I'm going to actually try to climb this mountain. And usually that first step is the scariest. Usually you don't know where to start. You don't know what to do. And you start with nothing. You see everyone has all these things up and running. I mean, watch that video I just posted from the previous year. It's like I had nothing. And you feel like you need to start with everything, but really just taking that first step is the hardest part of the journey. It requires the most courage. And those drum cases for me represented, I took some bold moves here. I got back in on something that I thought had passed me over in life. I basically re-entered the marathon back at mile 1. And it was just like, it was kind of a point for me where I'm like, oh, after about a year or so of doing this, okay, things are starting to happen. I'm starting to make things happen. So I'm coming up on about 2 years in Nashville. Things are happening. I would like more things to happen, but really this past 2 years, they've been the most difficult for me, but also some of the most personally rewarding years of my life. And there's cases where that was something I bought just like right around my first year. And I'm really, really excited to see what happens in the next year. Because never did I think, I was like, oh, I'm going to be playing full time. I'm literally going to be paying all my bills just by playing drums. Because I didn't even have any drums when I moved to Nashville. So the whole point is, man, just take that first step. Say yes to that first gig. You know, if you only have one guitar, take that gig. If you don't have an amp, take that gig. Borrow an amp from somebody. Things are never going to be perfect. It's never going to be, you're not going to start off at the top. You're going to start off at the bottom, probably even below the bottom. And that's not the point. The point is you just got to start. So if you're just starting, man, kudos to you. Those first few steps are the scariest, but they involve the most learning and the most growth. So if you're curious about my first year or two in Nashville, man, scroll back through this channel. You can see a lot of growth, and there's still a lot more room. And if you're in a similar spot, you want to know how to grow in Nashville, grow as a musician, or you just want the courage to start again, and shoot me something in the comments. Like, follow, subscribe, all that. Again, non-influencer here. I'm a musician talking about my journey and just normalizing that, man, it's rocky, it's rough, it's weird. There's all these things you're not sure what to do, but just take that first step. And if I can help you take that first step, please let me know. Thanks for watching, and happy climbings.